This week we're tackling another big build, a section of Moria for our Battle Games project. I'm Mike. I make miniature Earth terrain, dioramas and minis. We're now up to issue 20 in our journey through all 91 Battle Games in Middle-earth magazines. I wanted to stay true to the spirit of the magazine's build, but also upgrade it a little. I started by mocking up the design in Blender. It's great for playing around with scale and getting a feel for the board before you commit to the build. I printed that off and then began planning how I turn that into a physical model. The base is an A3 foam board. I roughly mark out the key areas using the Blender mockup and place miniatures down to get the size and spacing right. Using expanded polystyrene and a hot wire cutter, I began shaping the terrain. I kept it hollow to allow space for lighting later on. Each level is 7.5 centimeters high, which really helps create a feeling of height or depth depending on your point of view. Each level will have a door, so I took a template, marked them out and carved out with a hot wire cutter. Let's take a quick look at the lighting setup. I wanted one light behind each door, so I'm using 3 Edison style filament lights, powered by a 9-volt battery. I soldered them together with enough wire to run through each level, threading them through the board. I glued all the levels together using a glue stick. Honestly, one of the most underrated tools in terrain building. It gives a nice grab, has a good working time, and once dry, it forms a really strong bond. With everything glued together, I made a few small adjustments to the terrain to help it feel more natural. I've been working on my own collection of texture rollers, and this was the perfect project to test the Cliff texture roller. Using DAS clay and 2 sheets of 2mm MDF as guides, I rolled the clay flat, then slowly pushed the roller through. As you can see, it picks up all the fine detail beautifully. I trimmed the clay down and applied it to the model. Then just kept rolling out new pieces and sticking them on. For the floor, I used my broken texture tile roller. Same process, but with more care due to the repeating pattern. The silicone sculpting tool helps blend the seams, and I'll add extra texture later on to hide them further. For the more natural ground areas, I use a stone surface texture roller. This time I rolled sheets of clay, placed them on the model, and then rolled the texture in place. To blend the seams and add variation to the edges, I use Sculptor Mold. To finish this stage, I glued on some random patches of fine sand for extra texture. I also 3D modelled a set of dwarven carved arches. These were hot glued in place and any gaps were filled and blended into the terrain. To start painting, I use Farrow & Ball's Railings, a beautiful matte dark grey. Once dry, I notice lots of little white spots. This happens sometimes as the paint shrinks while drying, so I touch those up before continuing. Time for a wash. I made my own wash with some matte medium, water and ink, and airbrush flow improver, which helps break the surface tension so the wash flows into the recesses. You can also use washing up liquid. I haven't perfected the mix yet, but I'm getting close. Here's what I use: 5mm flow improver, 10ml matte medium, 20ml of water, and 3 to 5ml of black ink or any colour you like. I wash this over the entire piece. At first, it looks grey due to the matte medium, but don't worry, once dry it goes back to the colour of the ink. Next, I did a mid-grey dry brush, fairly heavy, followed by a lighter grey with a much lighter touch. To bring some variation to the wall colour, I mixed up 3 colour washes: dark brown, light brown and a black green. I dabbed them around randomly, blending as I went. And then mop up any that ran down onto the floor. This adds much more interest to the cliff faces. I finished with one all over light grey dry brush to highlight the detail. For the floor, I wanted a really matte, dark look, so I mixed black pigment powder with flow improver and water and brushed that into the floor. Once dry, it gave a great, textured finish. While things were drying, I created a set of 3D models: carts, rail tracks, anvils, crates, buckets, rope and a few tools. These were painted using speed paints. I also modelled a couple of statues for the arches and painted these with a simple dry brush technique. Now it's time to add some wooden elements, ladders, bridges and platforms to make the terrain more playable. I used a few types of wood: balsa wood for the planks, bamboo skewers for supports and lollipop sticks for longer beams. I textured all the wood using a wire brush and hobby knife. To make the bridges, I split lollipop sticks and then cut balsa strips to 35mm by 5mm, just wide enough for a miniature, and then glued them down. Making ladders is similar. I spaced each rung the width of 2 bases so a miniature can sit in place like it's climbing. I also built a work tower, using 7cm bamboo sticks and lollipop sticks for support beams. The top was built from more planks glued into a square platform, along with a long ladder for access. Painting was simple: brown base coat, homemade brown wash and a light brown dry brush. With everything painted, it's time to bring it all together. I placed down the 3D prints and wooden structures, then added some models. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. If you wanted to expand this into a full 4x4 Moria board, you could easily repeat this process across multiple panels. Unfortunately for me, I don't have the space to keep something that big. I hope you enjoyed this one. I definitely enjoy building it. A huge thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more Middle-earth content. And if you haven't already, check out the video on the Moria entrance build. Until next time, happy modelling.